on online. It was literally like a Bill Belichick sweatshirt, but it's obviously by Vikings. So I was like, oh,
Right.
hell yeah.
Hey, it's Chris for our Tuesday meeting on the Phoenix RIA. We are also on Just for Flips YouTube channel and Luke's Viking YouTube channel. Viking Brothers, right? Or Vikings.
Viking boys. Yep.
Viking Boys, yeah, not brothers. Anyway, we are here today to talk about YouTube arbitrage. We are sorry we are late.
Yeah, that's my
Luke
fault.
Luke had some traffic issues that he had to get fixed. So
Coming back from Prescott, and you know how it always works coming back from Prescott.
yeah. So anyway, sorry for my background. I'm here in my green screen room. It was a nice quiet room to come in and do this video. But we are talking about Airbnb arbitrage, the do's and don'ts, and kind of yes or no. Now, this is a very popular topic with people out there trying to sell courses. Don't you agree? Everybody is selling the Airbnb arbitrage course. So,
yep, 100%.
Because the whole goal behind the Airbnb arbitrage course is you're going to go find a long-term tenant or rental, and you're going to get the, I would obviously disclose to the owner that you're going to use it as an Airbnb. I guess you could always try the other route where you just sign the lease and and see if they catch you that you're using it as an Airbnb. But I would probably disclose it that you're going to use it as an Airbnb.
Yeah.
And then from there, like all the course sellers say, you really don't have any money out of your pocket, any money down. Like if you go purchase a home, you're going to have, down payment. You're going to have closing costs, maybe some rehab costs, all the fun stuff that goes with that. When you're just doing, a quote unquote rental, it should be pretty clean and ready to go, right?
Yeah, you might be, whatever your first month's rent is, and then maybe last month, or maybe first rent and security deposit, something like that.
Yeah, so you're going to be relatively low out of pocket. I mean, let's just call the furniture expense apples to apples, whether you own it or whether you Airbnb arbitrage it, you're going to have to furnish it. So, So some of the kind of things that I wanted to talk about, because everybody's selling the course, is obviously with Phoenix, you have things changing all the time. I don't know, you've experienced with your rentals. I can tell you that the Airbnb rentals are down. I don't know down by how much, but they're definitely down. So I would assume that is because obviously we had a very inflated Airbnb market because of COVID and stuff like that. But I can tell you, going into the winter of this season, I managed 3 larger Airbnbs myself, and I can tell you that the requests for bookings have slowed down significantly, and not just slowed down, but people are just asking for, hey, would you take a discount? So I'm seeing that as well. Well, if you're playing the Airbnb arbitrage game, I'm an owner and my payments are pretty low, but I think the Airbnb arbitrage game, based on the numbers I would expect, are kind of a little bit razor thin.
Yeah, I would definitely think they're razor thin as well. Because I mean, just in general, what you're paying in rent is going to be higher than what you pay for your mortgage anyway. So if you're already paying a higher dollar for your rent payment, and then like you mentioned, you got to furnish it. You've got to turn, get all the utilities on in your name. Yeah, I would assume it's going to be a little bit more thin as well, and especially if things have slowed down like you mentioned. We only have 2 Airbnbs here in the Phoenix area, but then we have 6, 7 in the Prescott area.
So how do you see your bookings? Like, do you have a feel on that?
So it's tough because we always see things slow down in the Phoenix market, in the summertime. Obviously, you don't have a ton of people that are traveling to Phoenix saying, "Oh man, I can't wait to get there when it's 120."
Right.
Even though, as we know, this summer was actually it was a great summer. I
Yeah.
mean, there was no complaints with this summer. This is one of the best summers I feel like we've had in years. Because I mean, well, I think we hit like 115, like 2 or 3 days, and then other than that, I think it hung around like kind of 105 for most of the time. We had a decent amount of rain as well, so I mean, it was a nice summer. But typically, things slow down in Phoenix around the summertime. So I mean, we've definitely started picking back up again. In the Phoenix market now that the weather's getting colder again.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so I mean, we've definitely noticed that, but it was a very, very slow summer for our Phoenix Airbnbs. But then our stuff that we have in Prescott, we're big on up north because there's not really much of a slow season there when it comes to Airbnbs. Because I mean, in the summertime, like I said, you have a lot of people that you got 6 million, 7 million people here in the valley that are trying to get out of the heat. So they might go over to Prescott, Flagstaff, Sedona, places like that. So summertime was typically pretty good for us, and it was good again this past summer. And then you have a lot of people that want to go up to those places again for the cold weather. They want to get into the snow. They want to go to Prescott for the Christmas city. They want to go to Sedona. So I mean, we haven't slowed down a ton, just being completely honest, with our stuff up north.
Yeah.
But we'll see we'll see if that continues.
I think just I think I'm seeing slowness in the winter bookings, and I just think that that's a product of probably a little bit oversaturation in the Phoenix market
Yes.
with Airbnbs and short-term rentals. And like I said, I don't have any stats on that. I can just tell you it's getting close to the end of October, and I'm usually booked up all through December,
Yep.
January, and February. And I would say 60% booked during those times.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
no, for sure. It's interesting. I mean, I think we're definitely going to see, like you said, I think that we're definitely going to see a dip. I think, when you have a big change in the economy as well. I mean, obviously everyone's saying we're in a recession, we're hitting it. So I think you're going to start seeing people holding onto their money a little bit more tight, when they're in a recession. So we'll definitely see how it goes.
yeah, so that could be, I mean, there could be more supply in the Scottsdale area and the Phoenix area for Airbnbs. Obviously, we did hit a recession. We were on our second quarter where the gross national product fell. So we are in a recession. And so I think people are going to start watching their pennies. So if you're on an Airbnb arbitrage, you're obviously on a long-term lease. And some things that and you're probably working on pretty slim margins, and then because you're paying rent, and then so if you get that slowdown that I'm seeing, I think the slowdown is over 20%. I don't know the number, but I think it's over 20%. Maybe it's 30%. I don't know the exact number, but it's definitely slower than it was last year. And then you also have to take into account the rules on the new rules that coming up with, I think it was the SB 1153 or whatever, the new rule that basically says that they can find the tenant and they can find the owner. So if you're in an Airbnb arbitrage and you're the Airbnb manager, kind of because you have a long-term lease, and your neighbor starts to complain about noise complaints, and you have the risk of now the owner losing the ability for them to have Airbnb use of their house after your long-term lease. I mean, obviously the owner could be like, oh, well, he's setting it up perfect. He's doing an Airbnb on my place, but maybe I'll not renew his lease at the end and I'll do it myself. But then, you get a couple complaints and it's going against the owner of the property, not even yourself. That could obviously create some tension.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, that's a scary part to be an owner and renting your house out, because exactly like you said, if you've got someone doing arbitrage on your property, they're making the money off of it, but then you're the one that's going to be stuck with it if they do end up having a party or something like that. So it's all going to fall down on you.
Yeah, so just a little reminder about what that new law says, and the cities get to choose it themselves, but strike one is a fine strike 2 is a bigger fine. Strike 3 is a even bigger fine, and you lose your tax license. That's how they're going to control it. That you lose your tax license for a 12-month period, and those strikes 1, 2, and 3 are on a rolling year. So the clock will start ticking as soon as you get strike 1. So it doesn't start like in January 1st, and if you get all 3 strikes in December, that you open back up in January. It happens when you get strike 1, and then you have 12 months to get to not get strike 2 or 3.
So let me ask you, Chris, would you, I mean, I know we were both just saying that I've never done arbitrage. I don't think you have either. Would you do arbitrage, or do you prefer, just doing it?
No, I mean, so I think obviously managing it yourself is worth it. And for me, I think I could get a property management company. I know they advertise 30%, but I think I could get one to probably take my properties for 20% just because the dollar figure on the nightly rental. It's like, okay, if your gross income is, call it 30% of that's 1,500. Well, my gross income bounces between 20, call it 15 and 25. I'm sure I could get one of those guys to take it.
You'll get a better deal on that.
Sure. For maybe even 10% management, just because of the the gross rent. So like for me, it's like not worth it to have somebody else controlling a property that I own. And that's I think the big thing about Airbnb and arbitrage. I mean, if you're gonna, obviously if you don't have the cash to get into Airbnb,
that makes total sense.
Yeah, don't. But if you're the super closer like Luke over here, and you can buy stuff at 50 cents on the dollar, and I don't think you should do it. I don't think you should do the Airbnb arbitrage. It's just kind of my thought. I keep watching the Instagram, Facebook. I just keep watching the gurus kind of spin this one off and selling this product, and I'm just like, I don't know if it's I mean, sometimes people don't care what they're selling, right? But I just don't think that it's a winnable game right now. Number one, with inventory up. Number two, with, I think people are going to travel less. And number three, the risk of the owner having, now the owner may not know, but the risk of the owner getting strike 1, 2, and 3 against his property and getting fines. Now, obviously, if the operator is a good person, he's going to pay the fines, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But they're not going against the operator; they're going against the owner and the property. So,
well, and I think the thing that you mentioned too is that typically, if you're going to be doing the arbitrage route, it's typically because maybe you don't have as much money to go buy property, right? To go buy a property or two. So, if your margins are already pretty thin and you don't have and you don't have a ton of money to kind of get this going, but this is how you're starting. If you do have one kind of go south, where let's just say, for some odd reason, it's just not booking out, if you don't have a lot of leeway to play with, that could put you in a tough spot. It could put you in a really tough spot. I mean, obviously wherever, unless you just ended up moving into it or something like that. But I mean, if you've already got another mortgage payment, you could just be adding another mortgage payment, and you could have just, spent however much, say, I mean, I don't know about you. Well, yours are a lot larger. Mine on average are about $10,000 to $12,000 in furniture per property. So, I mean, if you're looking at 10 grand out of pocket, or say you threw it on a credit card, it's just a lot of things that could potentially go wrong. And I'm not typically someone that's really negative to say like, oh, expect for the worst, but that's what we're doing right now. Like in this market right now, we are planning for the worst. And anything that happens that's better than that, that's great, right? So if we're flipping, if we're wholesaling, if with our rental properties, with our Airbnbs, we are running absolutely everything worst case scenario. Because that's what you have to do right now when the market is as up in the air as it is right now. I don't even like using the word up with the market right now. It's going straight down right now, but I'm saying with it being as up in the air in the sense that no one really knows, is it going to bounce back right away? Is it going to come back? Is it going to continue dropping another 10%, another 20%? You always want to play that on the safe side. You don't want to, it's the same thing when we're flipping properties. You don't want to, if all the comps are saying that this property is worth 500,000, you're not going to run it at us. We're not even running it at 500. Yeah, I mean, so I mean, you don't want to run it at 525. You don't want to say, well, our product's a little bit nicer, so we'll get 525. We have the nicest product, we believe, and we're still, if all the comps are showing 500, we're running something at 450. That's still what we're running our ARV at. And so I would say do the exact same thing with Airbnb. If you're thinking, some of these other ones are showing that they're pulling in $5,000 a month. Okay, well, I would take that with a grain of salt. You don't really know what's going to happen over the next 6 months, and especially if you sign a year lease, you don't know what's going to happen over the next year. So I mean, if you're planning all of your numbers out with that property, bringing in $5,000 a month, and it brings in $2,000 a month, you're probably going to be underwater. You're probably going to be losing money every single month on that investment. And you got $10,000 worth of furniture that you might be, like I said, you might either thrown on a credit card or maybe you bought cash. So now you got $10,000 worth of extra furniture that, that is just losing you money every month. So, I mean, it's a tough call right now. But again, right now we're just running things on the safer side for everything.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously, if you took the class, or if you're thinking about taking the class, the guru is going to say Airbnb arbitrage is your way into the Airbnb market. All this, it's kind of the new hot word, right? Airbnb. You get in for very little money. You don't have a down payment. You don't have any risk. I mean, your risk is just a long-term lease. And you just go buy the furniture, and let's just say you get a Scottsdale. Let's just run some numbers. You get a Scottsdale lease at $2,000 a month, right? Yeah. And then you got obviously you don't have, let's just say it's a condo. You don't have water. You just got power. And then you got some cleaning fees. So maybe it's, you're going to be $2,500 a month, right?
Oh, more than that. We're for our properties, we're at $1,000 to $1,500 per property for cleanings.
Oh, really? Wow.
A month, $1,000 to $1,500 per property. But I mean, that's also, we have on average 10 cleanings per month per property. And we pay anywhere between $100 and $150 per cleaning.
Yeah. Now, curious, with that many properties up north, did you hire someone full time, or you just using a service?
No, we have a full-time lady now. She started out with 2, and then we said, can you handle another one? Can you handle another? Can you handle another? So she's up to 7 of them for us right now.
Okay. Yeah. It's probably saving you some money there. Cause if you were just using a service, you'd probably be $150 to $200 a cleaning, right?
For sure. Absolutely.
So anyway, so you got, let's just say, $2,000 a month Scottsdale condo and
1,000 cleanings.
Yeah, 1,000 cleanings and power and water and all that stuff. So it's 3,000. And maybe you had planned to book it at, call it 200 a night for, and you thought you were going to get 25 nights. Then all of a sudden, so that's what, $7,000? No, that's $5,000. Yeah, $5,000. So you got a $2,000 spread, but let's just say you take a 20% dip in your pricing. Now you're at $4,000 a month, and you're it's $3,000 a month on cost, and it's a slim margin to be working with.
And the other thing is too is that if you're running that, like you were just saying, if you're running that at 25 nights. And let's say, like you said, a 20% dip, 25 nights is a ton. Like if you're booked 25 nights out of the month, you're doing really, really well. So, I mean, like we are super happy if we're booked 20 nights out of 30 for our properties. Yeah. We're booked 2/3 of the time. We're typically going to do pretty well. So, I mean, if you're even saying, 20 nights and then you take a 20% hit, then you're down to 15, 16 nights or something like that. You're gonna feel it. There's no doubt about it.
If you drop down to 15 or 16, you're breaking even. Your Airbnb arbitrage goals of making money, now you're spending your time for a zero profit, and that's not gonna be fun.
And you're gonna have things come up. You're gonna have, whatever, the bed's broken or this happened, and so I mean, you're gonna have expenses. Like there's no doubt about it that just on top of your typical expenses of like we were talking about, internet, power, stuff like that, you're going to have other expenses. You got to buy toilet paper, you got to buy paper towels, you got to buy towels regularly sometimes because towels get kind of destroyed. And so I mean, and again, these are not super expensive items. But again, when you're buying them weekly, when you're buying them monthly, when you're buying, these things regularly, like you have to, It all adds up.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the obviously the single best thing is about Airbnbs is they do pay better than long-term rentals,
No doubt about
and they still are paying your mortgage down, right? That's obviously the best thing.
it.
When
Yep.
you own, you get depreciation.
Yep.
You get to expense a lot of things. Trust me, when I go to Target and I buy some stuff for myself personally, I might just
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Yeah, my CPA is like, are all of these Target, and all these, these home goods, these are all for your Airbnbs? Yep, absolutely. No doubt about it.
So yeah, so obviously you get some expenses, you get some write-offs, you get the depreciation on the house. So obviously that helps. So I just like I said, I just was swiping through all the social media stuff, and I think because I do some coaching and stuff like that, I think I get everybody else's reel and everybody else's stuff. So I was like, how many people are selling this Airbnb arbitrage model? But I don't think, because I know my bookings and I've managed them myself. I don't have a percentage for you guys, but I just know that it's going to be slower this winter. And now we do have the Super Bowl and the Open coming in the same weekend. We're gonna get, maybe that's the savior for everybody. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see some Airbnb arbitrage owners get out of the business and some Airbnb owners get out of the short-term business in, call it after March, after spring training, because I just think the numbers aren't going to look as good as they did for obviously 2020 COVID. Everybody came here because they were trying to get away from something else, and then obviously 2021 looked about the same. I think we really started seeing the slowdown obviously over the summer. We didn't have a full house in Phoenix over the summer with the 110-degree weather.
Yeah, no, exactly. And again, just so you guys know, I'm not saying I'm opposed to arbitrage. I'm just saying that in general, I like the idea a lot more of buying the property and then Airbnb it on your own. And again, for some of the reasons that Chris has mentioned, I mean, you're paying your mortgage down. That's huge. When you're, even if you're doing arbitrage, obviously you're not paying a mortgage down. The owner is paying the mortgage down with you renting it out. And so I'm big on that, because I bought my first house 11 years ago. So I bought my first house when I was 21, and it was the smartest thing I ever did. It was buying is the second that I could, the soonest that I could buy a house, I did, and I'm happy that I did, because I did. I've been paying mortgages down for the past 11 years now, and you have friends who don't end up doing that, and you just you can hear my baby in the back. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no worries.
But when you're paying mortgages down for 11 years, and you see friends that that should have bought or could have bought when and they just decided not to, they're missing 10 years of mortgage. I mean, if you have a house where you have a $200,000 mortgage, $300,000 mortgage, 10 years, you're probably pulling off 70 grand. Wouldn't you say, Chris? Right around there.
Yeah.
And especially if you make it, a lot of times if you just make one extra payment a year. If you make one extra payment a year, they say it takes off 7 or 8. It's either 7 or 8 years off of your entire 30-year loan. So it's like,
let me just tell you my thought on that. I think you refied in 2000, probably 20 or 21. And what's the highest mortgage you have right now?
Interest rate or
interest rate
or value?
No, interest rate.
Interest rate. The highest one I have right now, on one of my rentals, I think I'm at like 4.8.
Okay. So maybe that one you make an extra payment on, but all those ones that are if they've got a 3 in front of it, don't make an extra payment.
Yeah. I'm at 4.8 on one of them, but yeah, I mean, exactly like you said, most of them are in that. My primary, I'm at 2.8.
Yeah, don't ever make an extra payment on that. You can stretch that one out all 30 years.
Yeah, no, exactly. But it's one of those things where you think about it, obviously, as the years go by, and you're like, man, it's out of sight, out of mind. And then you hop back on and you look at your mortgage statement and you're like, wow, I can't believe it paid off this much already in that short time frame.
Yeah.
Where everyone else, when they're renting, you're not paying anything off. Your money's going towards nothing.
Yeah, and then you could get to the end of your year, you set up your business and all that, and your landlord decides not to renew, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
100%.
then if you're a super host and all that, you're starting over, and
Yeah. You don't hold the cards. They can pull it from you just like that if they want.
Yeah. So anyway, any questions, anybody? Samuel said, just wanted to say, help me get started, Luke.
I mean, it's a fun industry. It's, when it comes to getting started, I just recommend, really doing your homework. You got to do your homework when you're buying your first Airbnb, because exactly like we've talked about, the last thing that you want is for you to buy a property that's not going to make sense, for you to buy a property that's in a bad area, where it's not going to get rented out. So really make sure that you're hopping on Airbnb before you buy something, and checking, what other Airbnbs are available, which ones are doing well, which ones are not doing well. Kind of set a plan for how you want to design it. Because what we're doing a lot of right now is we're doing a lot of themed Airbnbs up in Prescott. And I mean, I personally think that's a huge reason why ours are still doing extremely well. Is because it's super unique. We're doing really, really unique stuff where, there might be 5 Airbnbs within 2 blocks of ours. But if somebody wants to be, in town, and they're going to look at ours versus these other ones, they're going to book ours. They're going to spend the extra $100 a night to book ours as well, because ours are that much more unique. They've got that many more, details to them. So, I just think that be very like, what's the word? Detail oriented. Be very, I can't think of the word. Just make sure you're doing your homework when you're looking for your Airbnbs.
Yeah, there you go.
Chris, I mean, you do the same thing. Obviously, you're in these areas where they kill it. You're in Paradise Valley where people have big money, and if they're going to rent an Airbnb, they're going to do something super unique like yours.
So here's some unique numbers for you. So I have 2 houses, one in 85254 and one in 85253.
Yeah.
They're a mile apart, right? I spent $750, call it rough numbers, on both. They're both one's a 3,600 square foot house, one's a 4,000 square foot house, but they're both 5 bedroom, 4 baths, right? Nothing crazy. But right. The 85254 one is both on an acre, both have the same brand new pool, but the other one is clean. It's got brown wood floors. It's got a little bit dated tile in the showers, but nothing crazy. Yeah. Versus the other one's completely brand new and rehabbed. And I get $1,000 a night for the one, and maybe $1,200 a night for the one, and I get like $600 or $700 a night. It's a $5,000 a night hit to like not have it updated.
Oh, so $5,000 a month, or
$5,000 or $500 a night.
$500 a night, yeah.
So when you're talking 15 nights, it's a cost of, and I don't know, to update it, I would have had to do all new floors, which is, call it $30,000, new paint, which is probably $5,000. Let's call each shower like $5,000. Yeah, I mean, one's newer, but the other 3 would have been. I mean, I'd have probably spent new countertops.
Oh yeah.
Maybe I spent $80, right?
Right.
But that $80 would have made me probably $7,500 a month.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it pays for itself in a year.
Yeah. So I probably will be rehabbing. I'll probably block it off for 2 months over the summer and rehab it, just so I can re-enter 2024 winter season, and with a little light. But really, it's just, I mean, they're the same size. They're the same pool.
How's the backyard? I was going to say, how are the backyards differ?
No, they're both. It's the same. It looks. I have more gravel in the back of the other one, the one that doesn't do as well. I don't have the 2 grass, but I definitely need to probably add a couple fake grass patches too, just for the pictures, because it is more gravel. But same size backyard. same basketball court, same pool, like just
Yeah,
more gravel around the pool, less green. So
for sure. That's crazy. I mean, yeah, it is interesting when you say stuff like that, because it's like exactly what you just said. You could make that money back in 1 year if you updated that one, to
yeah,
the standards of the other one. And we do the same thing in the sense where it's like, ours, we don't have the large ones like you do. But I mean, we look at it as like, okay, we might spend an extra $20,000 to just really make it sick, right? To do all of like the wallpaper, to do the nicer furniture, to just really just give it that extra pop to make it just look insane.
yeah,
And it's like, when you're doing it, you're like, man, I don't really want to spend another 20. I don't want to do that. Just add a hot tub, whatever. A hot tub's, $7-8 grand for a new hot tub. But then it's like, you look at what it returns, and, I have asked myself that same question. Okay, how much more would I pay to stay at an Airbnb if I knew that it had a hot tub? And even if I'm not going to use it, just to know that I have the potential of using it, I've told my wife, I was like, I would probably pay definitely an extra 50 a night, not even a question. I'd probably pay an extra 100 a night just to have hot tub access.
right.
And again, I might not even use it, but just knowing that I have the ability to use it. And so again, if that costs you $8,000 and you're making an extra 50 to $100 per night, and you're booking out 20 nights a month, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely going to probably rehab my my other one this summer, just so I can bump up the pricing. It was the materials and it's in good shape.
Yeah.
It's in good shape. It's like, oh, do I rip out this brown stuff even though it's still in good shape, right?
What we're not even mentioning is that obviously the nicer it is, the more bookings you're going to get.
Yeah.
Much less, you're going to get more per night, but the more bookings in general you're going to get. So it's like, definitely no brainer. It's also very, very smart to spend the extra money to get really good photos taken. So
yeah, for sure. The photos are 100%.
Don't go cheap on photos.
Yeah. That $200 could cost you $1,000 a month.
Yeah, no question about it.
All right. Well, it's sorry we were a little late today. It's we are here every Tuesday at 2:00, or I would say, sorry, 95% of Tuesdays at 2:00. I had something come up last week and I could not make it.
This was my fault this week.
So, but we, if you have any topics you would like to hear from us, please click below. If you're part of the Phoenix RIA, we are out there at Blanco tonight in 50 minutes. I'll be there in 30. Tonight we're going over creative financing, novations, and subject tos and seller carries. Because once again, we're trying to hit those hot topics that everybody is out there talking about. So we will be there tonight talking about that. And then next week, we actually already have our guest. Do you know Alex Shapiro?
No.
Oh, okay. So Alex Shapiro, he started in title. He did title for a little bit, and now he owns a Airbnb can to the curb service. He has like 3,000 members already. I don't know what he charges, but I mean, it's a good story. He kind of reminds me of Luke. I met him one time at the Open, and and this first night we hung out till, I don't know, 2:00 in the morning. He lived way out east. He ended up staying on my couch, and I woke up at like 7:00 in the morning. He's gonna probably tell a story, and he's like, "Where are you going, Chris? We just got home." I'm like, "We got to go to work 7 a.m." He's like, "We just went to bed." I'm like, "Yeah, we got to go to work now."
Hilarious.
But I think he's about your age, and now he's raising a bunch of money for this app that will take your trash can on your Airbnb from your.
Oh, he was the one that you were telling me about doing that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I didn't know that there was an Airbnb conference in Las Vegas next week. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, but he is going to be here talking about his new, I guess it would be called he's money raise for his whatever angel capital, that kind of stuff to get his business going. But
heck yeah.
Hold on. Can we do live calls with Jack and Luke in a couple weeks? I mean, they want you on the live calls, Luke.
Hey,
It would be actually kind of funny to listen to Jack on live calls.
I'm never opposed to live calls. I love live calls.
All right, so maybe 2 weeks we'll do live calls with sellers. We'll jump on there and do that. But anyway, thanks for listening, and you can watch this on where my Flippin' Family YouTube. Go subscribe there, and go subscribe to the Vikings YouTube channel. We need to build the YouTube channels. Go hit the like button.
Heck yeah.
All right, see you, Luke.
All right, later, Chris.